Today on CityCast Seattle, what Seattleites want to see from their political leaders, Starbucks introducing an AI companion, and our weekend recs. But first, I want to know, Marcus Harrison Green, founder of the South Seattle Emerald and Hinton Publishing and a columnist with The Stranger, what is your go-to coffee order?
Man, I am kind of boring. I always just go with the tall drip, dark drip, and I don't know what it is.
Economical,
It's super
practical.
economical. I think,
Yeah.
being, a journalist for so long where you're trying to always get the cheapest thing and you might have 4 meetings at a coffee shop. I was a little disheartened to know that psychopaths actually also order plain black coffee. And so I don't know what that says about me, but I'm still trying to live with that, I guess.
Fascinating. I did not know that, but I will definitely weaponize that against any of my friends who order black drip. What about you, Prince of Social Media, Ben Keenan? What is your go-to coffee order?
So similar to Marcus, I am also kind of boring with a twist. I typically just go grande Americano, but they're too hot for my little baby mouth. And so I always ask them to toss in like 2 or 3 ice cubes. And it's really funny. A lot of the coffee shops that I go to regularly, I'll walk in and if I get an Americano, they're like, you want a couple ice cubes in that? I'm like, cool, my reputation precedes me.
I feel like that's a good way to become a regular somewhere, is to have an order that's not so finicky that the baristas hate you, but that they're like, oh yeah, I remember that guy. He always gets ice cubes in his Americano.
Yeah, it's handy because they always have I don't want an iced Americano when it's cold out, but I don't want to scald my mouth. And so it just kind of like lowers it to a drinkable temperature a lot faster than just the room temperature would.
Listen, I also have a little baby mouth, as you described yourself as having. I just put milk in mine instead of
See, but you don't always want the milk. And I've noticed, I've tried to do the non-dairy options as well, and it just separates. And I who can swirl it around all day? I'm spilling.
It's
a whole thing. No one's got time for that.
I like that it seems like you all are essentially black coffee people. Which I think maybe says something about the orientation of folks who do the news. All right, we'll come back to talking about coffee in a little bit. But first, I wanted to talk a little bit about what people want to see from political leaders right now. So as ICE has continued its raids, both federal, like nationally and locally, I feel like there's been this growing frustration among many Seattleites with our elected officials and a lot of calls to do more. In particular, I was looking at news from OPB, who reported that Marie Gluesenkamp Perez, a Democrat that represents Washington's 3rd congressional district, she had voted to pass a funding bill that included $10 billion in funding for ICE, and over the weekend, her office was vandalized, so someone threw red paint on a sign in front of her office. People have left her notes and large signs. One of the signs said, "You funded ICE, which was killing American citizens." Gluesenkamp Perez has, said that she thinks Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem needs to step down, but she also says that defund ICE goes too far. And I mean, closer to home, King County Council has passed a resolution urging members of Congress to place significant guardrails on funding appropriated for DHS, including ICE. It feels like some politicians are speaking out, but I also feel like I've heard a lot of calls to be doing more. I'm curious what you all have been hearing from your fellow Seattleites and what you think.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I hate to work in a Seahawks reference, but I will.
You got it.
Never hate working in a Seahawks reference.
No, I don't at all. But I remember an interview with the Seahawks coach, Mike McDonald, and somebody was asking him about accountability, and he said, I'm not really a huge accountability person because it has a negative connotation. What I am is a huge integrity person. And integrity is saying what you're going to do and then following through and doing it and holding in your integrity to other people, meaning your community. And so I always think how it's a shame that a freaking, football coach seems to have a better read, quite frankly, on leadership than some of our elected officials, in the sense that, yeah, you have some people saying some either sending strongly worded letters or saying some, strongly, worded proclamations on Blue Sky or X or what have you. But then when the rubber hits the road, what they actually are doing many times is in opposition to that and contradictory to that. And so I think ultimately what people want folks to do is to actually live up to their integrity, right? And operate in integrity and operate
Thought
in courage.
Hannah Krieg recently had a headline in the Burner that says, "Watch out, ICE. Governor Bob Ferguson sending strongly worded letters and having meetings." And I feel like that is kind of a reasonable encapsulation of the vibe coming from some of our elected officials, for sure.
Right. And that's also been the vibe for a while. I mean, look at, go back to George Floyd, right? Where, strongly worded whatever and no action. Go back to the Iraq War, with George W. Bush, right, where there's a lot of strongly worded they they need to do this and that, but ultimately folks voted to approve the war. So I mean, it's unfortunately this is something that's been par of the course, and I think people are finally just getting fed up with this.
Ben, what do you think? I mean, what do we expect reps to be doing right now besides just having their meetings and issuing statements?
Yeah, I think that's the question. And this is something I struggle with a lot, is that the collective we aren't necessarily telling our reps what we want, right? I think that's a big issue that I've seen online, especially in, I'm not going to say leftist spaces, but center left to leftist spaces, is a lot of people outside of the organizing community, outside of the activist community, are online screaming, do more, do something, do anything. You all are in charge. Obviously, we expect our elected officials to already have an understanding of what needs to be done. But like you said, Marcus, it doesn't always happen that way, right? People aren't necessarily acting in the way that they have said they've been acting. There's a lot of strongly worded letters. But I think a little bit of the onus is on we, the people, again, not telling people what we demand of them, right? We're saying do more, do something. The question is, what do we want? The answer is we want ICE in this immediate instance. I think this can, become a proxy for a lot of conversations. But in this immediate instance, we want ICE to be gone. We want it to be abolished. We want it to be defunded. We want it, whatever phrase you want to use. People online are mad and they're angry, rightfully so, but they are not coming to the table with active solutions, right? There are people out there doing the work, doing mutual aid, expanding communities and building something that's a lot bigger than us. But I think a lot of people are just screaming online to no avail that our elected officials need to do more. And I think that's what we need to focus on next, is giving an actual list of what we want. We want you on the ground in Minneapolis, in front of the protesters, talking in front of cameras, getting voices on this. We want you saying, voting no on every single piece of legislation that comes up, whether that be ICE or DHS or anything that goes along with that. We want you, even if you're in the minority, to put forward impeachment proceedings against Kristi Noem, right? We want all of these actions, but people are just screaming, I want more. And that isn't going to cut it.
I do think some of these local activists have some specific demands. Like, I know that there are a lot of people working towards trying to stop the city from putting in more surveillance cameras around town. I mean, we have talked with Angelina Godoy, the director of the UW Center for Human Rights, who detailed how the Department of Licensing data is being used by ICE. And I think many folks are calling for that loophole to be closed or addressed in some way. I think a lot of folks are really interested in just trying to fund more mutual aid groups in town, and groups that are directly assisting in with families and folks who are being targeted by ICE, like WISN, the Washington Immigrant Solidarity Network. But I do think that a lot of that work is like deeply unsexy, right? Like, you really have to learn how things work in order to get at the nuts and bolts of addressing this bigger issue.
Yeah, and I do think, you do see sort of a lot of sort of old school tactics where you have people who are calling their state senators, calling their representatives directly. My mother's helped out with a phone banking campaign to call Senator Patty Murray and say, when this funding bill comes up again, please do not fund it. And then also, I think you see a lot of people who are educating themselves about, okay, what is ICE? Like, when did it actually form? Okay, so it was 2003 where we were we okay before then? Like, do we need this? And I think you see a lot of, quite frankly, people who were apolitical before this who are sort of starting to wake up and educate themselves. There was I won't say the actual name of it, but there was a Reddit thread that I thought was kind of amusing. There's a Reddit subchannel called Massive, and let's say it's a 4-letter word is the next word that starts with the C and ends with the K. And I will just say that there was I will just say that there was a huge sort of conversation around it on Reddit around like, wow, these people like only talk about one thing usually, but these are folks who are like coming out and like, bashing ICE and saying that we need to abolish it, and they're actually starting to get actively involved. And as my partner said, we need words that start with the C and end with the K of all sizes to come out and do that. So.
I've also seen folks talking about the possibility of a general strike today. Have you all seen rumblings of this?
Yeah, all over the internet. A lot of celebrities have recently come out talking about this, anywhere from Pedro Pascal, Ellen DeGeneres, Kathy Griffin. I think Ariana Grande may have spoken about, like, there's a lot of people who are posting these, the poster or the graphic about the general strike happening. Personally, I love this. However, I think it was a very piecemeal solution to a bigger problem, right? I think a lot of really successful strikes take a long time to really get the number of people. The organization needs to be there, and people want action now. And once again, I get that. I understand we're all like, I need to do something now. I'm feeling very like helpless and stagnant. And I think if we gave it an extra 2 weeks and we said, hey, there's actually going to be a general strike, it allows people to remove themselves from their places of work for a day. It allows businesses to close as necessary. Online, a lot of businesses now are saying, I actually can't afford to close. I'm a small family-owned business. My staff is unable to leave. We have, this is one of our biggest days of the week because it is a Friday. And a lot of people are unfortunately responding like, so what? Close. You're part of the problem here. And it's like, fighting against small businesses is not the win that you think it is. You having a moral superiority online because a small business cannot, or a generalized people, right? People who are disabled and, can't get out of their house on a whim. People who have their jobs are tied to their healthcare. Like, there's so many reasons that this type of short-term thinking doesn't necessarily work, that I wish there was a solution, and hopefully there will be, where people are able 2-3 weeks out to say, I'm going to take a sick day this day. Job, you can't tell me no, that I'm not going to be sick, but allowing people to plan so that we can show up in the masses that we need to, what they say, the 3.5% rule. And I think if we can't afford to give people a little bit of grace, we're never going to see the type of transition and revolution into this new era that we're really looking for.
Yeah, and just to piggyback on that, I mean, is going to be, I believe, the third No Kings March, March 28th, and I know maybe that's too far out, but that hopefully does give people, some opportunity to plan around that.
Yeah, I saw that, Marcus, and I did think that was a little far out. It's like, hey, it's kind of, our new season of No Kings March is launching in the end of March, and it's like there must be easier ways, faster ways to get some sort of generalized.
Feels like 1,000 years from now. Like, who knows
don't worry,
what's going to happen?
I'm sure things will still be shitty at that time too.
It feels really
right.
Perhaps
in a different way.
Yeah, it feels tone deaf, where it's like these people aren't necessarily. I mean, while I really applaud all the work that the people who are in charge of the No Kings protests have done, I applaud the people who went to all of these. It just feels a little bit like, hey, read the room a little bit. We kind of want something now, so could you plan a No Kings March in like 2 weeks instead of 2 months? I understand the permitting and everything is a different beast altogether. But a lot of times protests do become spontaneous. And I think if you said, hey, we're going to do a march, regardless of all of the ability to get up stages and moving, I think there might be a movement towards that. And I just think people want action fast, but also people want solutions that they don't necessarily have the answers to themselves.
Yeah, I feel like organizing seems to take a lot of time to really talk to people, understand what their needs and wants are, and to mobilize. I mean, information does travel quickly online these days, but getting people into meet space is sometimes a real challenge. It's easy to like a post, but not actually show up and do the thing. I will note, however, that March 28th is also the day that the connection between the 1 and 2 lines of the light rail is opening. So, I mean, in a way, that actually could be a boon for the No Kings folks. If
Well, let's I mean, fingers crossed. We've been promised before, but I know that they're saying it's definitely going to happen, but I'm reserving judgment until it actually happens.
It's definitely going to. I feel like
Okay.
I've been subscribing to essentially just like militant optimism, because otherwise I feel like I cannot get out of bed.
Jane,
So
I will bet you a black coffee that it will not open March 28th. Okay.
All right, I'll take that black coffee and put just a splash of milk in it after you buy it for me, Marcus. All right, let's leave it there for now. And when we come back, let's talk about more coffee. GeekWire reported this week that Starbucks is introducing an AI-powered ordering companion, which uses, quote, vibe coding to order coffee. Wow, that is a lot of buzzwords. So GeekWire coined the term vibe coffee to describe this approach. First of all, do you even know what I'm talking about? Like, do you all recognize these buzzwords?
I know what vibe is, I think, and I know
the
coding.
words independently. Yeah.
Right. Yes. Together,
so
not
do you
so
all
much.
know what vibe coding is? Okay. So vibe coding, as I understand it, I'm not a coder, but as I understand it, it is letting AI code for you after you give it directions. In the same way that people are like, hey, ChatGPT, like, I don't know, give me a recipe involving like chicken. If you give it some directives, AI will just write the code for you. And if you like it, you employ it. And
what could go wrong? Yeah.
What could go wrong? So yeah, the idea is that Starbucks is going to let people put something into their app. So if it doesn't exist on the menu, even, they will basically use this AI to generate some kind of concoction using the existing Starbucks ingredients. So the example that Starbucks gave GeekWire was, say you want a banana bread latte. I don't think either of you necessarily want that banana bread latte based on your black coffee taste, but the AI will essentially turn that idea into something that is built from the ingredients that Starbucks already offers. Would you all want to try this vibe coffee?
You know what vibe this is conjuring up, Jane? Like, I'm dating myself here as an elder millennial, but the other day I happened to flip on the TV and the Adam Sandler movie Billy Madison was
one
on.
Of my favorites.
Yes, it's for those who don't know, it's essentially about this guy who's gone through extreme arrested development and needs to speed run his education up to college. And anyway, I think there's a scene where he's in a debate club or something, and he gives this answer, and the moderator is like, I have to say, that is absolutely the dumbest, stupidest thing that I have ever heard. And all 100 people in attendance are that much dumber for
May
you.
God have mercy on your soul.
Yes,
is, I think the end of that line.
That is exactly right. That is what I feel about Starbucks and whoever came up with this idea of vibe coding. Okay.
What do you think, Ben?
I mean, I don't think it's a great idea. I would be, hot take, because I know we're anti-AI generally here in Seattle, external of the tech community. I'd be interested to say, like, I really want a drink that embodies ambition mixed with calmness, mixed with a sense of trepidation. And like, see, like, that's the type of vibe I would like. What does that mean to you? I don't really need to be like, I want a banana bread latte. I want a flaming jalapeno caramel iced cold foam shaken espresso. I don't need all of that, because I feel like a human barista could very capably do that. If we're going truly vibes, like a vibe, I would try it. If I said I want a drink that embodies, the top 5 Beyonce songs of all time combined into one, I would drink that. That is something I would try.
See, I do think
Ben, I got it. Oh,
yeah.
sorry.
There's an opportunity for comedy here, for sure. Like, do you all remember Nun Pizza with left beef? Was this a thing that ever came across your feeds?
Jeez, yes. Yeah.
So for people who aren't in the know, this was like in the late aughts, I think, where someone ordered from Domino's a Nun Pizza with left beef, which was essentially just like the pizza crust with some sausage on the left side of the pizza, just to see if they could do it. And I imagine people are going to be pushing this to its limits just to see what weird stuff it comes up with.
But how much of this is just going to be sort of a placebo effect in a sense of, those studies that they do, that sociologists do with folks who are like, I've never believed in, astrology and yada, yada, yada. And then, they give everybody the same exact, like, astrology reading, and everybody, comes back and they're like, oh my God, I had never believed in this before, and now I do. And then they reveal to them, no, you got everybody, all 50 of you got the same exact thing.
Yeah.
How much of that is going to be this, like, where it's like, I would have just gotten the black coffee anyway?
I mean, part of me wonders if you needed an AI for this, but also part of me wonders, like, is this actually AI? So this is being presented as a AI-powered ordering companion. It kind of sounds to me like it maybe just takes the best ingredients that fit the general vibe. Like it feels like maybe just an algorithm more than it is generative AI.
Yeah, I gotta say, Jay, I don't think that there's any intelligence present here. Human or artificial. So
the word companion in this really, like, it really pokes at the back of my brain in kind of a negative way, right? I know a lot of us talk about the loneliness epidemic. And I think like, hey, I actually can't physically go into a store and order a coffee myself and describe the type of vibe I'm looking for. Therefore, I have to type it into an algorithm that then will, like, translate it to the barista, and I just walk in and pick it up without having to interact with anybody at all. This feels like the big, like, flashing red light about the fact that we can't even go and describe what kind of drink we want anymore. And I think that is something we should be putting AI towards instead. If you want to use AI, go ahead and turn it towards the fact that we cannot have conversations with regular humans anymore and solve that. We don't need to deal with the coffee orders right now.
Have you all heard of this term friction maxing? I feel like I'm just throwing buzzwords today.
That sounds not suitable for work.
AI.
Yeah, I could see that going in a different direction. But it came from this piece that was in New York Magazine's The Cut from this writer, Catherine Jezer Morton. And her argument was essentially that friction in many ways is what makes us human. Like, rather than looking at your phone while you're in the waiting room, like, just looking around creates some amount of friction. Like, so much of technology now has been designed to make things easier for us, but in the process has taken away what makes us human. Like, having to come up with your own drink order, like trying to actually think about, like, what ingredients would I like in this drink, and thinking about it and then communicating that to another person instead of, just typing a few words in and having it do it all for you. I feel like that is a form of friction, but for me, it represents something much bigger than just, like, a silly little coffee. Like, you can have your fun and have your silly little AI generated ingredient coffee. But it also, for me, I worry that, it represents this movement away from any kind of difficulty, no matter how small.
Yeah, I mean, it's like relationships, right? I mean, that's why it's sort of easier to have these AI companions or to fall in love with AI as opposed to, being in a relationship with somebody where, every day isn't, bread and roses. There are times where where you're going to be bored, or times where, you get into arguments and you need to resolve something, right? And so, to your point, Jane, right? I mean, I think in some ways this truly is sort of, as we move towards this frictionless society, it's almost dehumanizing in some ways.
And I think you actually double clicked on something that you didn't mean to. As the lone single person in this group, I think a big thing that we've lost in modern dating generally is that friction, right? The ability to go up to somebody and speak to them in real life, regardless of whether you want to take them on a date or just meet a new person. So much of the hate that we have towards dating apps in this moment in time is because I can swipe on somebody, and the minute I'm done with this conversation, I never have to speak to you again. I don't have to say, hey, it was great meeting you, and leave. I can unmatch you, I can block you, I can just leave you on red, I can ghost you. There are so many, the fact that we have so many terms for how this is, ignoring another human in a conversation is meant, like the words that you use to block somebody from your life should be a concern to everyone. And I think the idea of friction maxing is going out, in the dating culture and actually meeting somebody in real life, talking to them. There might be a chance that you get rejected. there might be a chance the person didn't live up to your expectations, right? There are all sorts of ways that you can create little frictions that I think we have gotten so desensitized to that we don't even realize that we're doing this anymore, right? Like you said, looking at your phone in a waiting room in a doctor's office, or, in an elevator even. I live in an apartment complex with a couple of elevators, and somebody gets in and I immediately look to the ground, or I look at the floor that we're on, or whatever it might be, because I don't want to make eye contact with somebody who lives in the same building as me. It feels like I'm going crazy, right? I feel like I've taken crazy pills. And one night we all woke up in the morning and we didn't know that the night before was the last time we were ever going to interact with somebody in person ever again.
It's not too late, you guys. You can
take the blue pill, Ben. Unplug from the matrix.
Take the blue pill. If you're going to get a little Starbucks drink, just go in there and describe your weird craving and like riff on it together. I don't know. Totally. Actually, maybe if there's a long line, they don't want to hear it from you. But
there's this trend online right now where people are like actually telling people to go flirt with other people in real life, regardless of relationship status. Just like be a little flirty, be a little fun, a little playful. And it's like, have fun with your conversations every day. Don't just walk up and be like, "Hi, black coffee, please." And then you tip and you leave. That was the entire conversation. And they call your name and you never see them again. And like, go up and be like, "Hey, like, how's your day going? Oh, I like that shirt." Just like talk to people like people. And I think circling back all the way to AI, I think this has really desensitized us as humans and has really been a massive part of the de-evolution of society writ large and the building of community.
Yeah. Hey, Starbucks barista, are you all unionizing? Do a little flirty flirt.
Yeah.
Will you make me a drink inspired by your top 5 favorite Beyonce songs? They might just tell you to get out of there. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. Let's take a break. And when we come back, let's talk about what we're doing this weekend. So it's Friday.
Woo!
Finally.
Finally.
And I always like to end our Friday episodes by asking what you all want to shout out this week. Like, is there something that brought you joy? Is there good news that you heard that you want to share?
Yeah. I don't know if it has brought me joy yet because I'm going tonight, but I actually get to go try Hamdi for the first time. My friend texted me, he's like, "Hey, you want to go get dinner?" I said, "Sure, where?" He said, "Depends on how much money you're willing to spend." And I said, "Joke's on you. I have no limit on how much money I'm willing to spend on food. I will always spend the money." I went to a bar last night or a restaurant while I was at the mall, got one glass of wine. It was $18. And I about spit out my entire drink when he's like, "Oh, hey, one Sauv Blanc, that'll be $18. My jaw dropped. I went, okay.
That's Ben, like the climate pledge prices.
Those are 3 bottles at the grocery outlet.
Yeah,
man.
Totally. I saw that and I went, it's my fault for buying a glass of wine in Bellevue. That was on me. How dare you? I know I get to have a good dinner at Hamdi tonight though. So that is my my perk for the week or weekend.
That place is incredible. Enjoy
I've heard.
Enjoy
yeah,
it.
I've heard. Yeah.
Marcus, what about you?
Yeah, I just in terms of something that made me smile, I did a story for the South Seattle Emerald. It was about this arts collective made up of about 10 people, and it's called Pardon My Craft. And what makes it special is these are all folks who are either spouses or family members of individuals who are incarcerated. And they have been, they don't just create art, but they also have, formed community in, very bleak times in the sense that, their loved ones, some of them are doing, bids for 60 years, some for 55. They'll never, unfortunately, probably won't ever see them, outside of prison again. And yet, they've been able to, form community together. Having somebody in prison can be a very alienating scenario and situation. And, they've been able to again, form a very tight-knit community and make beauty out of bleakness, they say. And so I think even if you don't have somebody who is incarcerated in your life, I think it's just a great model, particularly during this day and age when so much is going on that is very tumultuous. It's a great, I think they're providing a great model of showing, there's still beauty that you can curate. There's still community that you can curate. And I think, it's a lesson that we all need.
That's really beautiful. Were there any particular pieces that stuck out to you?
I mean, it's hard to pick a favorite just because they're all sort of made in love, if you will. I would just recommend that if you want to check out the art, that you go to King Street Station. They have a gallery showing until February 6th. And I believe if you go the first Thursday of February during Art Walk,
Sweet.
you can actually talk, to some of the folks who created the art. So I'd highly recommend.
Love that. Love that. All right. I definitely want to stop by and check that out. My thing for the week is going back to the food theme here, Ben. I went to Human People on Wednesday night. The name cracks me up every time. But they
Cannibalism
were doing...
or
I mean, I think just human people. Like we're people who are human. There are dog people, but we won't get into that.
There we go. Okay.
So they were doing a pizza night that featured Cincinnati pizza. If there are any Midwesterners among us, you might be familiar with Skyline chili, a thing I've not had in 20 years. But they put chili on the pizza and put cheddar cheese over it. So Skyline chili has this thing, you can get it 3 ways or 4 ways. I believe the 3 ways is if you want to include cheese, and the 4th is if you want to include onions. So we got a 4-way pizza. I honestly was like, I don't know if chili on pizza is gonna be good. Like, I don't know if it's gonna do it. It was so good. And anyway, the people who work there are just lovely. Got to chat with some fellow Midwesterners who, about the pizza scene or about the chili scene in Ohio. And it was just like a delightful time. It was hopping the whole night.
Is
Really
there
enjoyed
something
it.
specific? Like I picture chili on pizza, and to me, that sounds delicious. Is Skyline chili a different type of chili to me always, I mean, aside from like people who don't include beans in their chili, is like meat and beans and like whatever spices go in it. And then you could put cheese on top, which just sounds pretty generic.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, as we've talked about before, I'm kind of a weird pizza purist in a lot of senses, but this is just, I don't even think it has beans in it. It's just ground beef with spices.
So it's just like saucy beef.
Basically.
Oh,
but it's done very well. They have a really good thin crust that complements the whole thing. Oh, and it's also, they served it with oyster crackers because that is typically what you put in the chili. Another fun fact about Ohio style or Skyline chili in particular is that the chili often has spaghetti in it. Like that's
okay. See, when
tradition.
when I say, is there something
specific
specific about it? You forgot that part. Well, that it's over the top of spaghetti.
But there was not spaghetti on the pizza.
Okay.
The crust was, I was explained to that the crust is in place of the spaghetti. But
yeah.
Anyway.
I would try it.
How much did it cost? Was it about the same price as Ben's glass of wine? Or?
Not quite as that much.
Okay.
You could have a whole pizza for less than my glass of wine. Perfect.
I will say pizza in Seattle is not cheap. I feel like people gotta live, they gotta eat. Yeah. So it's definitely not New York. All right, what else are you all doing this weekend? What do you recommend people go check out?
I've got the Grammys on Sunday.
Not
like I'm going to the Grammys, but that is the only thing on my to-do list for Sunday is get ready for the Grammys. Olivia Dean is up for Best New Artist. If you have not listened to her album, you should. She is phenomenal. And she should win. I think the betting markets actually have her winning as well. So that is what I'll be doing at least all weekend is just binging that. Do you binge an album? Putting the album on play on repeat over and over again everywhere I go, every errand I run.
That's the closest you can get to binging an album.
I would say so too, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So for folks who want something to do in terms of expressing their dismay and disgust around ICE on Saturday, tomorrow, there is a Seattle Educators Say ICE Out of Seattle rally that is happening at Seattle Central College on East Pine and Broadway. So it's easy to do on a Saturday. If you don't have to work, you can come out and have your voice heard. And if you are a Seahawks fan, as I am, later today at 6:30 p.m. at Seattle Center. I have mixed feelings about this, but they are doing a drone show that is billed as an immersive display of Seahawks-themed visuals and iconic imagery soaring above the Seattle skyline. It is free 99, so if you like me just
free
want
something
to do
for cheap, then hey, there you go.
I love a drone show. personally. I mean, I think fireworks are a little overrated. Obviously, we've seen
Yes.
the fact that you can't really see them on New Year's Eve from the Space Needle anymore, from all the smoke or the fog or whatever we're going to get. And they're really kind to animals because they make near to no noise. So your pets will love it too.
I feel like the noise is such a sensory issue for me. It sounds like there's a really large buzzing insect, and it always takes me a second to figure out that it's actually a mechanical noise. But hey, a free drone show, if you're into drones, go check it out. In the same vein as Marcus's other suggestion, this evening there is a critical mass bike ride that is meeting at Westlake Center. This happens the last Friday of every month. This month, the ride is in honor of Alex Preddy, who was a cyclist, in case folks had not learned that lore about him. There's a Minneapolis bike shop called Angry Catfish that has been posting about, the fact that he would come in. He was part of the cycling community there. Minneapolis, I believe their critical mass group is also holding a ride in his honor. And so the Seattle folks are doing that as well. If you've never been to a critical mass ride, it's a little chaotic, but the vibe is whoever is in front is leading. So it's just a big group of cyclists roaming around town. If you're in a car and you see a large group of cyclists, that's what's going on, and please give us some birth.
Are we allowed to honk in support, or does that does that change things?
I think that's the vibe.
Okay. I normally when I see bikers or a protester, I like to give them a little beep 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 beep, like in a supportive honk, not in like a but you never know if
roll down
it's
that window
disrespectful.
And say something in case your intentions would be misinterpreted.
Right. With a critical mass, I just don't need any collisions.
Yes, that is the goal for sure. All right, that's all for today here at CityCast Seattle. Marcus, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And Ben Keenan, thank you for being here.
Always happy to be here.